like to eat. And today we're going to be talking about 3 different kinds of animals. We're talking about herbivores, carnivores, and omnivores. And we're going to learn what those words mean and what it means for their dinner. So first off, I'm going to get our herbivore, who I think is one of our absolute cutest animals at the museum. So give me just a minute to bring her out. She is very excited to meet all of you, and I think you guys will be very excited to meet her. Hello, hi. All right, everyone, please say hello to the lovely Miss Sally. Now, the great thing about these virtual programs is that, of course, we have this nice wide shot where you guys get to see me and Sally, but we all know that you're here for the animals. And so Sean has this awesome close-up camera that he's going to be able to use to get way closer looks at these animals than you'd even be able to get in person. So this is Sally, and whenever I bring out Sally or her brother or her mom, people want to say that she's a few different types of animals. They guess rabbit, they guess squirrel, they guess mouse, and all of these are really good guesses because she kind of looks like all of those combined into one. But Sally is a very cool animal called a chinchilla. Now, you guys may have seen a chinchilla before. They are pretty common as pets. You may have seen them in the pet store. However, if you ever see a chinchilla out in the wild in Arkansas, they're very, very lost because these guys are from the country of Peru. Specifically, they live in the Andes Mountains. Now, that's pretty cool because mountains are a really difficult place to live for animals. There's a couple things that chinchillas have to deal with in their native habitats. One is that it's very hard to get around in the mountains. There's lots of rocks and cliffs and crags, and so it's very hard to get around and get to where you need to go. So the way that chinchillas deal with that is that they are excellent jumpers. Chinchillas have super strong back legs that allow them to leap from rock to rock and cliff to cliff. And this nice little swirl-like tail back here is really good at allowing them to balance. So when they land on a particularly scary cliff, they can balance themselves and keep themselves safe. The other big thing that they have to worry about in the mountains is cold. It's really cold where chinchillas live up that high in the air. And so chinchillas have this amazing, very dense, very thick fur coat that helps keep them warm. These guys have 50 times more hair than we do in a single space. And so that really thick fur coat helps keep them nice and safe in those super cold mountain air. But today we're talking about what these guys like to eat. And that's another challenge in the mountains too. It's very hard to find the food that you want to find. But the food that Sally here is looking for is fruits and veggies because she's our herbivore. So when we talk about herbivores, we are talking about animals that only like to eat fruits and veggies. You can think about them as vegetarians. Except when we talk about people that are vegetarians, they choose to eat fruits and vegetables. Whereas Sally here, she has to eat fruits and vegetables. That's the only kind of food that she likes. And the cool thing about herbivores, and when we talk about carnivores and omnivores, we'll say the same thing, is that a lot of times you can tell what animals like to eat based off of different things of how they look. So for today, we're going to be talking a lot about teeth, because as you can imagine, being in your mouth, teeth are very important to what you like to eat. So herbivores, animals that love to eat plants and fruit, have really strong, thick, black teeth to help them chew up plants. Because plants and leaves, even though they're not hard to catch, take a while to chew. They take a lot of energy and time. So you need really strong teeth to help you chew through those plants. Now, I brought a few little greens for Sally today. I'm not sure if she'll eat on camera. She can be a little bit nervous in front of the audience, but I'm gonna offer them to her and see if she's interested while I continue to talk about those wonderful teeth. So chinchillas in particular have a really cool set of teeth right at the front of their mouths, just like a rabbit or like a mouse or rat. It's these two really long teeth that help her chew up plants and also sticks and stems. And those teeth continue to grow constantly. those teeth just continue to get longer and longer and longer. And so Sally really needs to make sure that she eats lots of very tough plants and chews through a lot of wood in order to wear those teeth down. Because if they just kept growing and growing and growing and growing and growing, eventually those teeth would stick really far out of her mouth, and that sounds pretty inconvenient. But those really long, strong teeth help her get all that food that she likes to eat. Now, the really cool thing about talking about animals' teeth when we talk about what they like to eat is that we can compare those teeth to the teeth in our own mouths. Now, I want you guys to close your eyes and think about your favorite food. Maybe you have it for lunch, maybe you have it for dinner. You can open your eyes now. I'm personally thinking about pizza. I absolutely love pizza. There's so much that you can do with it. And we have a whole bunch of different foods that we really like to eat as humans. We like to eat fruits and veggies, but we also like to eat meat. And so in our mouths, we have teeth that help us deal with all those things. So just like herbivores like Sally, we have big, strong, flat teeth that help us chew up plants. Those teeth are all the way in the back of your mouth. Those are your molars, those big teeth in your back. You gotta really reach back to brush. We have those teeth to chew up plants and leaves and fruit, just like our herbivore friends here. And we're gonna see an animal in a little bit that has a very similar mouth to us. So as much fun as I've had bringing out Sally, and as cute as I think she is, we are going to move on to our next animal, particularly because they're really, really excited. They've been going crazy, and they are very excited to come meet you guys. So everyone wave to your computer screens and say, bye, Sally. And we're going to take Sally back to her container right there. There we go. We're big fans of chinchillas at the museum because we have 3 of them. Sally was actually born at the museum with her brother Bender. We had their mom Paula, and all of a sudden we had surprise chinchilla babies. So we are big fans of chinchillas, which is good because we got a lot of them. But we've talked about herbivores, animals that like to eat plants and leaves and fruits. And so the next step, of course, is talking about carnivores. Even if you guys don't know the word carnivore, I bet you know lots of animals that are carnivores, because these are animals that only like to eat meat. We as humans are very fascinated with carnivores because they're really cool. Tigers, lions, jaguars, eagles, even extinct things like T-Rexes. Carnivores are really cool and very exciting, and sometimes they're scary, but in the case of our next carnivore, I think you're going to find that they're very cute. And I actually have 2 of these guys today because they have so much fun coming out and meeting people, even if it's virtual. I couldn't possibly bring one and leave the other. So everyone, please say hello to our ferrets, Bandit and Jinx. Now, as you can already tell, Bandit and Jinx are very, very wiggly. So we actually have a fun thing that we're going to do with these guys. Sean in the close-up cam is actually going to follow me over to a little ferret playpen that we have, and we're going to give these guys some time to run around. So follow me, and we'll head over to the ferret playpen. All right. They're so excited. They can't wait to get into the ferret playpen. Hello. So over here, we've got a little space for our ferrets to run around, and I'm going to let them walk around and kind of explore as we talk, as Sean gets some great shots. And I'm going to see if these guys are interested in having any food. So these guys, as I said, are carnivores, which means they exclusively like to eat meat. So today I'm going to see if they want any chicken cubes here. They're big fans of chicken cubes. Bandit's already trying to get into the bag, even though I have one right here. Hi, do you guys want any treats? Oh, yes. They really want them. They're excited. So ferrets are very cool animals, and they're one of my favorite examples of carnivores that we have at the museum because they don't look like what we normally think about when we think about carnivores. They're adorable. They're not scary. Even if you think that tigers and lions are really cool, you got to admit they look a little bit scary. But look at these guys. They're so cute. How could they possibly be carnivores? Well, let me tell you,
looks can be deceiving. These guys are actually very, very skilled and intelligent predators that love to eat meat, as Bandit runs away with his chicken cube. Now, even though they look really cute on the outside, if we were to look into their mouths, which you might catch a glimpse of as Bandit's chewing on his chicken cube there, you'll see, as we were talking about teeth before, that these guys have all the tools inside their mouths to be excellent predators. Unlike chinchillas or other animals that are herbivores, instead of a bunch of big, flat, strong teeth, predators like ferrets, like carnivores like ferrets, have rows of very sharp, pointy teeth. You can think about them like forks and knives. Those teeth are made for grabbing onto meat and ripping it apart. So they have their own tool set in their mouths, just like a chinchilla does, just for a different purpose. Hi, do you want another chicken cube? I think we're just freaking out. We're having a good time. So ferrets are actually adapted to hunt very specific kinds of prey. Hi, you're getting into the bag again. And you can actually tell what kind of prey they like to eat by the way their body is shaped. So Bandit, can I borrow you for a second here? Oh no, you're very excited. I'll borrow Bandit once he calms down a little bit. Hi, okay, you can hang out there. So ferrets are really good at catching animals that like to go down into burrows and holes. Just look at this body. They're basically tube shaped, really good for getting into burrows, and they're very, very flexible. So ferrets are really good at going after animals like rabbits and even prairie dogs because they can go down into those burrows where they live and grab onto them. And those really long claws and really sharp teeth are going to allow them to catch their prey. I think they're just excited now. They're giving up on the food and they just want to wander around. One of the reasons it's so much fun to bring out ferrets is because they are very intelligent predators. A lot of predators have to be really smart to catch their food because it's very hard to do. Unlike plants and fruit that just kind of hangs out as long as you can get to it, predators and carnivores like ferrets have to really hunt down their food and catch it. So these guys are so intelligent because they need to outsmart their food as well as be able to catch it. So that's why we like to put these guys into this fun little ferret pen because these guys need a lot of playtime and need a lot of things to do so they don't get bored. Very intelligent animals like ferrets or even your cats and dogs at home need lots of attention and need lots of playtime and fun, stimulating things because out in the wild, they would be using their brains a whole lot. Whereas here, when we have them for education, they obviously don't have to hunt for their food. They just get given chicken cubes. So we've got to make sure that we keep these guys excited. Oh my goodness, I have so much fun in the ferret pen. This is like the best part of my day. You can see Bandit's already trying to escape the ferret pen. Yes. He's good at doing it. He can climb out. These guys are very skilled and really good at getting to places they aren't supposed to be, which I'm sure prairie dogs would agree with. Now, as much fun as I have being in the ferret pen, it is time to move on to our third and final animal. And don't tell the other animals at the museum this, but our third animal might just be my favorite. So, ferrets, everyone say goodbye to Bandit and Jinx. We're going to head back over here. All right. And we are going to just take just a second before we bring out our last animal. So we've been talking about herbivores, animals that only like to eat fruits and veggies, and we've been talking about carnivores, animals that only like to eat meat. And so for our third and final animal, we're going to add them together and talk about omnivores, animals that like to eat fruits and veggies, but also really like to eat meat. And if you've been keeping up, you might have guessed that you have an example of an omnivore right in front of you. We talked about how humans inside of our mouths, those molars, those big, strong, flat teeth are made for chewing up plants. But then we also have sharp teeth, our canines, 2 on the top, 2 on the bottom, and those have the same purpose as ferret teeth. Those teeth are made for grabbing and tearing meat. So not only do we have the teeth to deal with fruits and veggies, we also have the teeth to deal with meat. So we are omnivores. Now, as we said earlier about vegetarians, not everyone chooses to eat meat. Some of you, your parents probably wish you ate more fruits and vegetables, but you guys have the tools in your mouth to deal with both of those things. We're a great example of omnivores. We like to eat a whole lot of different foods, but our last animal that I'm going to bring out, I got to say, kind of has us beat. They're kind of the ultimate examples of omnivores. And as I said, one of my absolute favorite animals because they're just super cool. So give me just a moment to bring out my friend Molly. At the museum, we have Molly and her sister Maple. And I think that these guys might be the most popular animal at the museum. And I think you'll see why. So everyone wave hi to your screen and say, hi, Molly. Hello, this is Molly, and she is our Virginia opossum. As I said, we have Molly and her sister Maple, and Virginia opossums are an example of a fantastic omnivore. These guys are called Virginia opossums. You may have seen them in your backyard. They're common across a lot of the United States. And when you saw an opossum, you've probably seen it digging around in the trash. These guys are actually pretty good at living with humans because we throw out lots of food and they like lots and lots of food. So I say that opossums are basically the ultimate examples of omnivores because not only do they love fruits and veggies, one of Molly's absolute favorite foods is grapes. And I'm going to see if she wants a few grapes in just a moment. These guys also absolutely love to eat meat. I might give her some of those chicken cubes that I was giving the ferrets earlier. These guys also really like fish, and one of their favorite foods is bugs. I imagine most of you don't like to eat bugs. That's not really a thing for us here in the United States, although other people in the world do like to eat bugs. So in that way, Molly has us beat because one of her absolute favorite foods is bugs. They're everywhere. They're not that hard to catch, and they're a good source of protein. These guys really, really, really like to eat ticks. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm a big fan of animals, clearly, and even I don't like ticks. So I'm a big fan of opossums because they help eat thousands of ticks in a year, and ticks can spread disease and get people sick. So these guys are basically like the doctors of nature. Now, I'm going to set down Molly on our table here and see if she is interested in some snacks. As we said, she's an omnivore and her favorite food is grapes. So I brought some grapes covered in a little bit of yogurt, and we'll see if she's interested in giving that a munch there. And now my fingers are going to be covered in yogurt. She might explore for a little bit and come back to those grapes later. So not only do these guys help keep our environments clean by eating things like ticks, they also help keep things clean by eating dead, rotting, gross stuff. Not only rotting fruits and vegetables that are old, but also dead animals. These guys clean up rotting dead animals. And so these guys are kind of what's known as a scavenger, kind of like vultures. They'll pick up the things that are left behind, which is really gross to us, but is very important to the world. Because if all that stuff piled up, if there was just a bunch of dead, gross, nasty, rotting stuff everywhere, animals and people would start to get sick. Lots of bacteria and disease would spread. And so these guys are basically Mother Nature's cleanup crew. Part of why they're one of my favorite animals. And these guys are basically animal superheroes because they can eat all this gross, nasty stuff, all this bacteria, potentially disease, and that stuff doesn't affect them at all. Not only do they have very strong stomachs, but they have an excellent immune system. It's very hard for these guys to get sick. And a cool side effect of that is that excellent immune system that helps make them eat basically anything they want can also keep them safe from venomous snakes. There are certain venomous snake bites that these guys basically just don't even care about, that they can shrug off like it's not even a big deal. So as I said, basically an animal superhero, helping to keep the world safe, helping to keep the world clean. What more could you want? They're fantastic. Now, some people kind of think of opossums as pests. See, again, these guys being in your trash. And really the problem there is that opossums, even though they're slow and they're kind of goofy looking, they're really good at getting into places they want to go, even if we don't want them to. On each one of the opossum's hands, they have 4 fingers and a thumb, just like we do, just like our hands. So we've got 2 thumbs in the back, 2 thumbs in the front, 2 thumbs in the back, 4 thumbs. So they're really good at grabbing onto things, really good at climbing and moving things around. And they also have this fantastic tail back here, which looks a little bit weird compared to the rest of their body. This tail is what we call a prehensile tail. That's a long word that basically just means they can use this tail like another arm. You can kind of see how it's curling around my finger here. Spider monkeys, those monkeys that hang from their tails and swing around, have prehensile tails. They can grab onto branches and trees and use their tails to support themselves. Now, opossums, their tails aren't that strong, but they can use them to hold on and grip and support themselves when they're climbing around. So all that to say, opossums are really good at getting into places that sometimes we kind of wish they wouldn't. That's why you might have found them in your trash. What are you doing over there? Molly and Maple are 2 of our favorite animals at the museum, of course, because of all the reasons that I've said, but also because these guys have a kind of an interesting and a little bit scary story about how they got to the museum. A lot of our animals we've just purchased from breeders or pet stores. Some animals are pets that other people have given up, but then there's the occasional animal like Molly and Maple who have kind of a weird story. These guys were actually found out in the wild as babies, abandoned by their mom. Opossum moms can have up to 13 babies at one time. And adults that are listening, I'm sure you know how hard it is to take care of 1 or 2 kids. Teachers, I bet you know how hard it is to take care of 13 kids or more. So opossum babies, unfortunately, tend to get left behind a lot. So Arkansas Game and Fish found these guys out in the wild all by themselves, no mom to take care of them. They needed a little bit of medical attention, so they took care of that. And then once they were healthy, Game and Fish took these guys in and gave them to us as education animals. So these guys have had a kind of a harrowing start to life, a little bit of a scary start. And at some point there wasn't, we weren't sure if they were going to make it, but thankfully these guys are happy and healthy, and they've become one of our best education animals. You weren't interested in the yogurt grapes, but you just wanted the yogurt cup. I guess if that's what you want, you go right ahead. Yogurt is a great treat for these guys. They love dairy and milk. As I said, opossums can eat just about everything you can, if not more. And even though I, tried to put it on the grapes, I guess she just wanted some straight, some straight yogurt today. So one of my favorite things to learn about is what animals like to eat, because not only does it tell you a lot about how an animal lives their life, you also learn that you can take a really close look at animals, and even if you don't know them, probably determine what they like to eat. If we were to look into an opossum's mouth, just like we've been talking about, we'd see a very similar setup to our own mouths. They have big, strong teeth in the back that are good for chewing up plants, but they also have really sharp teeth all over their mouths that's good for tearing up meat. Opossums are actually really cool because even their big, strong, flat teeth for those plants have pointy bits on them, so they even have extra tools to deal with their food. And these guys have more teeth in their mouths than any other land mammal. We have 32 teeth, and we, replace them once in our life. These guys have 50 teeth. So it's basically like they have an even bigger toolbox than we do, really helping them get at whatever foods they want. So that's why learning about animals and what they eat is so much fun, because you can tell a lot about an animal by their diet, and you can learn a lot about how they live their lives. Now, we are going to leave Molly out here snacking away on her food because even though we're done meeting animals, I'm still very excited to hear any questions you might have about our animals. Now, you guys can ask questions about any of our animals, anything about diets, or anything about animals that you want. What we're going to do is Sean is going to work with your teachers to kind of help run a question and answer portion. We'll collect questions and unmute, and so we can answer all those burning animal questions that you guys have. And while we're doing that, we're going to watch Molly have fun trying to get yogurt off of her nose. So thank you guys so much for meeting all of our animals. They were very excited to meet all of you. And I'm really looking forward to hearing all of your fantastic questions. You've had enough yogurt. You're okay. How about some
So I
grapes?
don't have a question, but I would just like to add for all the children in the classes and the teachers that when Museum of Discovery opens back up, you can go down and you can actually pet and touch and see all these animals. And it's very fun.
We love our animals at the museum. We're big fans. All right. Does anybody
Molly,
have any
I-
questions? Molly's
Maybe.
going for some grapes.
They went home.
Found out
Museum staff to sleep at
can't
their.
find where to type right now for some reason, but we had a question. Does Molly like anything else besides yogurt?
Oh my goodness. Molly likes everything else besides yogurt. Yogurt and grapes are just kind of the easier snacks to give her. But in the wild, these guys are going to eat just about anything they can come across. One of the reasons that we find them in our trash a lot is because dog and cat food is really tasty to these guys. Lots of protein, but bugs, fruits, plants, leaves, fish, any sort of meat that's lying around, any dead animals, these guys are going to go for it. Just having a grape and bringing it over is a lot easier than having a whole fish. So grapes are one of the easiest snacks for us to give them, but these guys like all sorts of foods.
So
Good
do
question.
Molly
Let me see
and
if she wants
Maple ever play possum?
That is a great question. Yes, this is the thing about opossums. One of the reasons that I love them is because there's so many cool things about them. It's honestly kind of hard to cover in just 10 minutes. So one of the great things about opossums is the way that they defend themselves, which we know as playing possum or playing dead. If you haven't been able to tell, Molly's not particularly fast. She's not particularly scary looking or vicious. So if she is attacked by a predator, she doesn't have a lot of ways of defending herself. She can show off all those teeth, but that only takes her so far. So if she gets into real trouble, she will play possum. She will flop over and basically go into a coma. Possums don't really have a ton of control over when they stop playing dead, but they'll flop over and they'll even secrete a smell that makes them smell like they're dead. And hopefully that's going to make predators leave them alone. Because even though animals like Molly really like to eat things that are already dead, most predators don't want to deal with things that are already dead because they don't know how they died. They could be sick. They could have something wrong with them. And animals like opossums have the tools in their stomachs and in their bodies to deal with those potential diseases, but most predators don't. So playing dead, as weird as it seems, is actually a pretty good way of keeping yourself safe. All right. Do we have any other questions? As Molly smacks away on her chicken cube.
Yeah, teachers, if there's any questions from the students, feel free to just come up and unmute your microphone and ask that question. Look, she's cleaning her hands. Got to stay clean. Look at that. That's one of the things I found interesting, especially about the opossum, is they are meticulous about keeping themselves clean and grooming and washing their hands. And
we always think that animals that are scavengers are really, really gross because they eat lots of gross things. But if you're going to eat lots of gross things, you better be keeping yourself clean so that you don't potentially get sick. So animals like opossums and vultures are actually incredibly clean because they have to make sure that that gross stuff doesn't pile up on their feathers or fur.
This is a comment
Any
that Avery
questions?
thinks that Molly's really cute.
I think so too. That's why I love bringing these guys out. Not only are they cute in person, but they look great on camera.
Our kids are learning
Was that
about
Avery? I
cleaning
agree,
up
Avery.
and being clean as well. So maybe Molly and Maple can teach them something.
Well, they won't exactly clean up this table. Unfortunately, I'll have to take care of that, but they will keep themselves clean at the very least. Except for this yogurt on her nose.
Hey guys, we had another question. Do they
Go for it.
live by themselves, or do they like live with their families, or are they alone?
Ooh, that is a great question. So When an opossum mom has her babies, like I said, she can have up to 13 babies at once, and the babies will hang out with mom for a while. That's actually why opossums have this kind of long, wiry fur, not to keep themselves warm like the chinchilla, but for holding on. It's really good for the babies to hold on to and ride around with. So the babies will hang out with mom until they're grown. And once they get older, they're probably going to mostly go off on their own. Obviously, they'll occasionally meet up with other opossums. And so it's not that they'd like to be totally alone, but once they get older, they're generally going to go off by themselves. Good question. Our ferrets are very excited and they're mad that someone else is getting attention.
Well, we want to thank you guys so much for bringing all your friends into our room virtually. And we look forward to next month to meeting some new friends.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I'm very happy that we were able to do this program for you. Thank you. Again, thank you, Mr. Robinson, for sponsoring this series of programs. And I am looking forward to showing you guys more animals the next time we join you. Molly is very excited that we did this as well because she got treats.
All right, guys. Thank you very much. We will see you next time.
Everybody have a
Bye.
good day.
Thank you.
It's nice the internet held. I wonder why.